Reddit, what's the best meal you ever had that you will probably never get to have again? I went on a fishing trip with my brother and a couple friends down to Marathon in the Florida Keys. We took our boat, stayed in a tent in this campground, and there was a restaurant there with a Cajun chef named Frenchie. One day we had a pretty good haul. Spanish mackerel, yellowtail snapper, and quite a few fish we didn't really know what to do with. Frenchie saw our catch and offered a deal. Give him the fish we didn't want, and he'd take the rest and cook it up Cajun style with sides and everything, for free. Okay, drinks weren't free, but oh my god. A couple hours later the four of us were treated to a feast of epic proportions. Imagine one of those all-you-can-eat fish dinners but with fresh fish you caught that day, cooked expertly by a real Cajun acting as your own personal chef for the evening. It's hard to beat fish straight out of the ocean cooked properly. The best fish I've ever had was one that was spearfished by my husband's uncle and served a couple hours later. I don't even remember what kind of fish it was. We were anchored off some tiny island in the Bahamas. But it was amazing. I was a broke student in Boston. I had like $4 to my name. I was fucking starving, so I just walked into a restaurant in Chinatown and just told the waiter that I had $4 and just wanted some lunch. He laughed at me, sat me down, and brought out the most delicious, but simple food. It was chicken, with some green vegetable I couldn't identify, but it was dark and pungent, and a huge bowl of rice. I was almost in tears, it was so good. Honest to God, the food in Boston's Chinatown is amazing. There's this place my friend showed me, and they had this hidden menu item. It was $5 for a giant bowl of soup. I forgot the name of it sadly. Best thing I've ever had in years, came with chicken, shrimp, there was a mixture of veggies. I was only a quarter down, I could not finish it. But if I ever go back to Boston I'm getting it again. Place also had fresh spring rolls, not deep fried, a thing I can't find in my town lol. The chefs seemed like they loved cooking their TBH. Vietnamese places usually have fresh/not fried spring rolls, if you're looking. They're also whack easy to make, and really easy to make really good too. They're called summer rolls. My mom and grandmother make some from time to time, so simple and yummy. The wrap is rice paper, that's dipped in hot water right before wrapping them. For me it's because the people who made them are no longer alive. But my grandparents' food, simple Mexican food that no matter how hard I try to recreate will never have the same taste or smell. And every bite filled you with an internal warmth that just made you feel like you were some important being. I'd how to explain it. Even breakfast tacos, I remember waking up 2 hours before school to go sell them in his homemade salsa every day. Simple times. I feel this. My grandma is thankfully still alive, but she can't get around to do things anymore. She used to be the most incredible baker. She had a real gift that I can only hope to achieve 10% of one day. So many things I remember her making for me that I simply can never have again. Even if I follow her recipe and make the same thing, it's not the same thing. She gave me her handwritten cookbook so at least I can get kind of close, though. My grandma was a fantastic Anglo cook. I know this sounds hard to believe, but she didn't make use of garlic or wine and made amazing food. Dad threw away her handwritten cookbook. Me and my sister are still bitter. Scallops. They were incredibly fucking delicious. Sautéed with garlic and butter, perfectly cooked, melt in your mouth. Unfortunately, that's how I found out I was allergic to shellfish. So I won't ever be having them again. Unless I'm ready to die. All that sucks frown. Hopefully one day they'll invent a pill to cure your allergy and you can enjoy them again. I personally can't stand them, but if I was allergic to lactose I'd rather die than not eat cheese. I couldn't imagine not being able to eat cheese. Username definitely checks out. Our family used to own a Chinese restaurant. My uncle woke up at 4 a.m. to make the noodles and to make Chinese roast pork. After he died, my relatives went with just getting noodles delivered from a factory. Our pork also didn't taste the same. I miss the food at that restaurant. I grew up in an old school dine-in Chinese restaurant that served Peking duck. So much was made in-house. On weekends we served dim sum that was made in-house as well. Nowadays it's mostly Chinese takeout restaurants, and you're right about the noodles. A lot of places use pre-made dumpling wraps too now, and I've heard of some restaurants buying their egg rolls frozen. Not sure which country/city you are in, but here in the US I'm pretty positive that almost all Chinese takeout restaurants order frozen apps like egg rolls, wontons, dumplings and of course crab rangoon. Very few of them are spending the time to hand make stuff like that, which their clientele, Americans, wouldn't be able to tell if it was authentic/good or not. Not American, but I can tell. There's a huge difference between in-house made ingredients and frozen stuff. I doubt most would be willing to pay the premium though if Chinese restaurants started going back to making most of their ingredients in-house. Tastes like Cisco is the shorthand I use with people who understand restaurant supply to describe a place that leans heavily on buying pre-prepped food. Cisco is the biggest restaurant supplier in the US. There's an area in Rhode Island that has a bunch of old Italian restaurants that have been there forever, Something Hill I think? I was there for work once and ate at one of them for dinner. It was legit the best meal I've ever had. Just the appetizer soup was probably better than any other restaurant food I've had. You could tell it was awesome family recipes that they've been making for generations. I'll probably never be in that state again. Federal Hill, amazing that a lot of those places are still open. There was one I used to frequent that I swear was a front. It had 3 items on the menu: steak, chicken, pork. That was it. You ordered one, got your meal, and left. It was a very poorly lit place. Most times there were a few guys in the back that stared at you the entire time you were there, but damn, the food was fantastic. I live in Washington State. I got a chance to go to Maine. Fresh lobster rolled right out of the water, almost. First time having lobster too. But while they may have lobster, they are missing out on that sweet Dungeness crab. Born in now live in Maine. It is lovely. The only place in America I want to go to is Maine. Please stop by anytime. Except right now. But any other time, for sure. We were the first-year newcomers in SRM University, Chennai, India, 2015. My last examination for the first sem was going to happen and I was in college hostel studying for the exam. I felt hungry. It was around 8 o'clock in the night. It was raining heavily. Cafeteria was not open and all the students who were there near cafe went to admin office, but that was also closed. I returned to my hostel, searched for the warden, and he was also not in his room, so I spent the night with only water. Next day we got the news that the area I was living in became the red spot for the Chennai flood, so we didn't get to eat anything for 2 more days. There was only water everywhere and for us to get our stomach filled also. Army was deployed to save people, but we students were being ignored because we were living far away from the main city. It was the end of the 3rd day with no electricity, no food, and all of us were feeling cold. At 10 p.m. we broke some of our desks and got to the top of hostel and burned it. After 1.5 hours, Indian Air Force spotted me and 5 guys. We were carried by safety belt and suit via a helicopter to a safe place that was around 5 kilometers away and was offered a PB&J sandwich with a cup of chai. This was the meal with a taste that I will probably never get to have again. I was in Chennai during that time too. Survived off of 1 banana, 2 slices of bread and 2 hard-boiled eggs each day for 2 weeks. The first biryani I had after starving for 2 weeks hit me in ways I cannot describe. Wow. I can't imagine how life-giving that must have been. What an insane ordeal. I'm glad you made it and have the memory of impossibility. Delicious PB&J and chai. Any kind of food after having an operation, because you've been fasting so long. That tea and buttered toast really hits different. Almost makes you cry in gratitude. I feel this so hard. I was in labor for 30 hours with my first. After he was born, the nurse brought me a can of ginger ale and a turkey sandwich. One of the first pictures of me and babe is me breastfeeding with him in my left arm while I chow down on this sandwich. I still joke that it's the best sandwich I ever had. My mom did this when I was born. It was a 20+ hour labor and she refused to hold me until she'd eaten a ham sandwich and a Coke. I had a long labor also and hadn't eaten anything for 30 hours except some ice chips. My baby had some issues at birth, so was in the NICU and I couldn't hold him. My mom brought me a hamburger from Burgerville and some fries and I sat and cried and ate it. It was so delicious that I felt guilty for enjoying it while my baby was in the NICU. Yes. With my first I was heading to a 7:40 a.m. appointment for my 38-week checkup, then my husband and I were going out for breakfast afterwards. Surprise. Emergency induction, no food for you. So I'd had no food since dinner the night before. Baby wasn't born until 2 in the morning. I went well over 24 hours without food, except for some jello that I begged for, and a nurse took pity on me. The leftover sandwich I had once I got up to my recovery room around 3:30 a.m. was one of the best meals of my life. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have a similar story, share it in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. Have a great day, or night.